Poland is a country that was not meant to survive. Not in theory. Not on paper. Not according to the empires that divided it. When you look at a modern map of Europe, Poland may seem like just another country, positioned between Germany and Russia, a geographic bridge, a corridor of history. For centuries, armies crossed its plains. Ideologies clashed on its soil. Borders shifted over and over again. But Poland is not the space between powers. It is the country that outlived them. At the end of the 18th century, Poland was erased from the map entirely. Its territory was divided between three empires: the Russian Empire, the Kingdom of Prussia, and the Habsburg monarchy. There was no Poland. No Polish government. No sovereignty. For 123 years, the state simply did not exist. And yet the nation survived. Language was forbidden in schools. Culture was suppressed. Uprisings were crushed. Thousands were executed, exiled, or forced into foreign armies. But identity cannot be partitioned as easily as land. Polish poets kept writing. Families kept teaching their children the language at home. Churches preserved tradition. Memory became resistance. In 1918, after World War I reshaped Europe, Poland reappeared. Not because it was gifted independence, but because it fought for it. Then came 1939. Germany invaded from the west. The Soviet Union invaded from the east. Poland was again divided between two totalitarian regimes, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. This time, destruction was industrial. Systematic. Calculated. Warsaw would be reduced to rubble. Millions of citizens, Jewish and non-Jewish, would be murdered. Entire communities erased. Culture targeted. Elites executed. Cities burned deliberately after uprisings failed. By 1945, Poland had lost around 6 million people, nearly 1/5 of its population. And still, it survived. After the war, Poland did not regain full freedom. It fell behind the Iron Curtain, becoming a satellite state of the Soviet Union. The borders shifted west. Entire populations were relocated. Families woke up in foreign countries without moving from their homes. Once again, Poland adapted. It endured decades of censorship, economic hardship, and political repression. But beneath the surface, resistance never disappeared. In shipyards. In churches. In underground publications. In music clubs where jazz became a language of freedom. The country was quiet, but not broken. Then, in 1989, the system collapsed. Communism fell. The Iron Curtain opened. Poland stepped into a new chapter, this time not as a battlefield, but as a builder of its own future. Today, modern Poland is one of Europe's fastest developing countries. Glass skyscrapers rise beside reconstructed old towns. Highways stretch across plains that once saw cavalry charges. Technology hubs stand in cities that were once ashes. But to understand Poland, you cannot just look at its architecture. You must understand the cost of survival. Because this is not a country defined by uninterrupted glory. It is defined by interruption. Destruction. Reconstruction. Occupation. Resistance. Silence. Rebirth. Over and over again. This is why Poland feels different. There is a certain tension in the air, a quiet awareness of history. Streets are beautiful, but beneath the cobblestones lies memory. Forests are peaceful, but they remember marching boots. City squares glow at night, but they once burned. And yet, life here is vibrant. Young people fill cafes. Trams move smoothly through cities rebuilt from nothing. Music echoes from open windows. Markets sell flowers. Families gather every Sunday. The country does not feel haunted, it feels alive. Poland did not survive by accident. It survived because identity here was never purely political. It was cultural. Spiritual. Personal. When the state disappeared, the people carried it inside themselves. When cities were destroyed, they rebuilt them from photographs and paintings. When language was banned, they whispered it at home. When ideology tried to replace tradition, they adapted without surrendering. To visit Poland is to move through layers of time. In Warsaw, You see a skyline that looks futuristic, yet much of it stands on land that was once a field of ruins. In Krakow, medieval walls survived wars that flattened entire capitals elsewhere. In the mountains, wooden houses built without nails still stand as symbols of craftsmanship older than modern states. On the Baltic coast, shipyards once sparked a movement that helped end the Cold War. Poland is not frozen in the past. But it never forgets it. And that is the key. This is not a travel video about monuments. It is about resilience. About how a country can disappear physically, and still exist spiritually. About how borders can move, but identity can remain. About how destruction can become the foundation of renewal. As we travel through Poland, from Warsaw's rebirth to Krakow's preserved heart, from the Tatra Mountains to the Baltic coast, from painted villages to massive castles, we are not just exploring places. We are exploring survival. Because Poland is proof of something powerful. Empires fall. Ideologies collapse. Borders shift. But culture, when protected fiercely enough, endures. This is the story of a country that refused to vanish. Not once. Not twice. But every time history demanded it. And to understand Poland today, modern, ambitious, fast-growing, you must first understand what it overcame. Look deeper than the postcards. Listen beyond the tourist guides. Because every city here carries a scar, and every scar carries a story. And that story is not about victimhood. It is about persistence. Welcome to Poland. If Poland is a story of survival, then Warsaw is its most dramatic chapter. At first glance, Warsaw looks modern. Glass towers reflect the sky. Wide boulevards cut through the city. Business districts pulse with energy. It feels ambitious, forward-looking, almost defiant in its speed of development. But Warsaw is not old in the way most European capitals are old. It is rebuilt. In 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland, Warsaw became a primary target. The city resisted fiercely. It endured bombings, siege, occupation. And in 1944, during the Warsaw Uprising, a desperate attempt by the Polish resistance to liberate the city before Soviet forces arrived, the destruction became systematic. After the uprising failed, Adolf Hitler ordered Warsaw to be wiped off the map. By January 1945, around 85% of the city was destroyed. Entire districts were flattened. Libraries burned. Churches demolished. Palaces reduced to skeletal remains. What had once been a living capital became a landscape of ashes and broken walls. Few European cities suffered destruction on that scale. And yet, what makes Warsaw extraordinary is not that it was destroyed. It is that it was rebuilt almost exactly as it had been. The Old Town, today one of the most charming areas in Europe, is not medieval in the traditional sense. It is a meticulous reconstruction. Architects, historians, and ordinary citizens worked from paintings, photographs, architectural drawings, even personal memories. One of the most important references was the detailed 18th-century paintings by Bernardo Bellato, which captured Warsaw's streets with near-photographic precision. Brick by brick, facade by facade, Warsaw recreated itself. The result was so unique that in 1980, Warsaw's Old Town was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List, not because it survived untouched, but because of the extraordinary reconstruction effort. It became a symbol of cultural resistance. Standing in the Old Town Square today, you see colorful Baroque facades glowing in the sunlight. Cafes spill onto cobblestone streets. Street musicians play violins near the royal castle. It feels authentic, because emotionally, it is. This is not a replica built for tourists. It is a statement. We are still here. And yet, Warsaw did not stop at rebuilding its past. It also embraced modernity. In the city center rises the imposing Palace of Culture and Science, a massive Stalinist skyscraper gifted to Poland by the Soviet Union in 1955. It dominates the skyline, controversial and symbolic. For some, it is a reminder of Soviet domination. For others, it has become simply part of the city's identity. Around it now stand sleek glass towers, symbols of Poland's economic transformation after 1989. International companies, tech startups, financial institutions, Warsaw is no longer just a historical site. It is a driver of regional growth. The contrast is striking. Reconstructed Baroque streets just minutes away from ultra-modern business districts. Memory and ambition coexisting. But to truly understand Warsaw, you must cross the Vistula River. On the eastern bank lies Praga, a district that survived the war far more intact than the rest of the city. While western Warsaw was systematically destroyed, much of Praga remained physically standing. For decades, Praga had a rough reputation. Neglected during the communist era, it developed a raw, gritty character. Old tenement buildings, faded courtyards, religious shrines tucked between walls. Bullet holes still visible in some facades. Unlike the polished old town, Praga feels unfiltered. Here, you see layers that were not reconstructed, they simply endured. In recent years, artists and young entrepreneurs have moved in. Abandoned factories turned into galleries. Industrial spaces converted into cultural centers. Cafes hidden inside courtyards. It is not romanticized history, it is living texture. Warsaw exists between two forces: destruction and reinvention. It is a city that understands loss, but refuses nostalgia. The Warsaw Uprising Museum captures this duality powerfully. It does not present history as distant tragedy. It immerses you in it: sounds of gunfire, underground tunnels, letters written by young fighters who knew they might not survive. Most insurgents were barely adults. Many were teenagers. They fought not because victory was certain, but because identity mattered more than fear. Walking through the museum, you understand something deeper about Warsaw. The city is not proud because it avoided suffering. It is proud because it endured it consciously. And then chose to rebuild. Even nature in Warsaw feels symbolic. Along the Vistula River, wild beaches stretch surprisingly untouched. Unlike many European capitals that fully urbanized their riverbanks, Warsaw allowed parts of the Vistula to remain natural. Grass grows freely. Birds nest. People gather casually in summer evenings. It feels unplanned. Organic. As if the city understands that not everything must be controlled. Today, Warsaw is one of the fastest-growing capitals in Europe. Infrastructure expands. Metro lines extend. Universities attract international students. Nightlife thrives. Technology hubs multiply. But the spirit of Warsaw is not defined by its GDP. It is defined by resilience engineered into its architecture. When you walk through Castle Square at sunset, watching the light hit reconstructed walls, you are not looking at imitation history. You are looking at defiance made visible. The message of Warsaw is simple. You can destroy buildings. You cannot destroy will. Few cities in the world were given such a brutal test of existence. Fewer still rebuilt themselves with such determination. Warsaw is not Europe's most ancient capital. It is something rarer. It is a city that rose deliberately from its own ruins, and then decided not to look back in bitterness, but forward with intensity. In Warsaw, the past is never erased. But it does not dominate. It strengthens. And perhaps that is why the city feels so alive today. Because every street here has already proven it can survive the worst. And once a city knows that, it stops being afraid. Unlike Warsaw, Krakow tells a different story. It was spared the full fury of war, yet survival here carries its own weight, the quiet burden of memory and occupation. Krakow is often described as one of Europe's most beautiful cities, and in many ways it is easy to see why. Its medieval streets, Renaissance townhouses, and Gothic churches appear untouched by the devastation that swept across Poland in the 20th century. But what appears pristine is layered with complexity, a city that survived, yes, but also endured. Walking into Krakow, your first impression is often the Rynek Glony, the main market square. It is vast, open, and buzzing with life. Cafes spill out into the square, horse-drawn carriages clip-clop along cobblestones, and street performers fill the air with music. In the center, the Sukienės, the cloth hall, stretches like a bridge across centuries. Built during the Renaissance, it was once the hub of international trade. Merchants sold textiles, spices, and exotic goods that arrived from the east and west alike. Today, it is both a tourist destination and a living symbol of continuity, a place where commerce still thrives as it did centuries ago. Above the square, the tower of St. Mary's Basilica dominates. Every hour, a trumpet call, the Hejnal Mariaki, pierces the air. Tradition dictates that the melody ends abruptly, mid-note. Legend says this commemorates a 13th-century trumpeter who was shot in the throat while warning the city of a Mongol invasion. Every day, the unfinished note reminds Krakow that history is never fully neat, survival often comes with interruption. Beyond the square lies Kazimierz, the historic Jewish district. Before World War II, it was a vibrant cultural and religious center, home to synagogues, schools, and markets. During the Nazi occupation, Kazimierz was nearly emptied, its residents deported, murdered, or forced into ghettos. Yet in the post-war era, the district survived physically, and more recently, it has experienced a renaissance. Cafes, art galleries, and music venues now fill the streets, but the memory of what was lost is always present. The cobblestones carry echoes of the past, of families and communities erased but not forgotten. Another layer of Krakow's history is found underground, literally. The Wieliczka salt mine, just a short drive from the city center, is one of the world's oldest operating salt mines. Here, centuries of labor created not only tunnels and chambers but entire underground chapels, sculptures, and even a cathedral carved from rock salt. The mine is a testament to endurance and ingenuity, a community working, creating, and surviving under immense pressure, both literally and historically. It is a reminder that Poland's history is not always written above ground. Krakow's survival extends beyond architecture and tradition, it lives in its people. Unlike Warsaw, which had to be rebuilt from rubble, Krakow's streets, houses, and institutions remained. But survival did not mean immunity from oppression. The city endured occupation under the Nazis and later the Soviets. Cultural institutions operated under censorship. Universities were closely monitored. Everyday life was constrained. Residents learned resilience not through reconstruction but through endurance, the quiet, invisible kind. The city's art and music reflect this resilience. From medieval churches filled with Gothic altarpieces to the improvisational jazz clubs that flourished during communist censorship, Krakow has always balanced preservation and innovation. Modern cultural festivals, international film events, and thriving street art scenes coexist with centuries-old traditions, demonstrating a living, breathing city that honors both past and present. The natural surroundings also contribute to Krakow's character. The Vistula River meanders gently past the city, its banks lined with green spaces where locals jog, picnic, and gather. The nearby Tatra Mountains, visible on clear days, offer a glimpse of Poland's wild beauty, just a short journey from urban life. The contrast between history and nature, city and wilderness, is part of what makes Krakow feel timeless. Visiting Krakow, one cannot ignore the weight of memory. Sites like the former Schindler factory, now a museum, tell stories of courage, suffering, and moral complexity during the Holocaust. Nearby, the Wawel Castle and Cathedral serve as reminders of Poland's royal past, a time when Krakow was the political and cultural heart of the kingdom. History here is layered, complex, and unavoidable. Yet despite its history, Krakow is not a city trapped by the past. Its streets are alive with students, tourists, and locals. Cafes buzz with conversation, markets overflow with produce and flowers, and music pours from small venues late into the night. The city's heartbeat is steady, its rhythm determined by people living fully in the present while never forgetting the lessons of the past. Krakow also teaches an important truth about survival, that endurance can take many forms. Warsaw arose from rubble, Krakow survived intact. Both cities testify to resilience, but in different ways. One demonstrates reconstruction, the other continuity. Both reveal that a nation's strength is not only in its walls or monuments but in its capacity to preserve culture, memory, and spirit even under extreme pressure. In Krakow, every alley, plaza, and chapel tells a story of persistence. The city has lived through occupations, wars, and political upheavals. It has retained its soul while adapting to modernity. Its survival is not passive, it is active, conscious, and ongoing. By walking through Krakow, you witness a city that has learned the art of endurance. Here, survival is not a tragedy, it is a quiet triumph. The city's streets may appear serene, but beneath their calm surface runs the pulse of history, sharp, real, and unbroken. Krakow reminds us that history is not only about what is lost, but also about what endures. Its charm, resilience, and cultural richness serve as a model for understanding Poland as a whole. The city teaches that survival is not merely about rebuilding walls, it is about preserving identity, spirit, and memory. And in that lesson, Krakow stands tall. Poland's mountains are not just landscapes. They are living archives of history, culture, and resilience. Unlike the cities, where reconstruction and preservation dominate, the mountains tell a story of endurance through nature and human craftsmanship, of traditions that survive imperceptibly across generations. The Tatra Mountains, along Poland's southern border with Slovakia, are the most famous and dramatic range. Towering peaks, jagged ridges, and glacial valleys create a landscape that commands respect. Yet beyond their natural majesty, the Tatras hold human stories that echo the broader history of Poland. At the heart of the Polish Tatras lies Zakopane, often called the winter capital of Poland. But Zakopane is not just a ski resort. It is a cultural emblem, a place where the Highlander or Goral culture has survived centuries of outside influence. The Gorals, mountain people with a distinct dialect, music, dress, and architecture, resisted assimilation and preserved their identity despite invasions, partitions, and cultural pressures from the lowlands. They are a reminder that survival is not only political but deeply cultural. The architecture in Zakopane is immediately striking. Wooden houses rise in intricate patterns, with steep roofs and elaborate carvings. Remarkably, many structures are built without nails, relying on traditional joinery and craftsmanship. Walking through the town feels like stepping into a living museum, where every building carries the memory of artisans who learned techniques passed down over generations. The wooden homes, churches, and chapels seem impervious to time, testament to skills refined over centuries. Goral culture extends far beyond architecture. Music fills the air, haunting melodies of violins, bagpipes, and folk songs recounting tales of love, labor, and rebellion. Local festivals feature dances in embroidered costumes, celebrating a heritage that survived war, occupation, and social change. Language, too, persists. The Goral dialect, rich in expressions and vocabulary unique to the mountains, is spoken alongside standard Polish, keeping oral tradition alive. Here, culture is not preserved in books or museums, it is lived every day. Nature itself in the Tatras seems to resist the rush of modern life. Trails lead to remote valleys where time slows, where hikers pause at mountain lakes like Morskie Oko, whose mirrored surface reflects jagged peaks and the sky above. In winter, snow blankets the slopes in silence, broken only by the sound of distant avalanches or the hooves of wild animals. Forests are dense, rivers swift, and air crisp, a reminder of Poland's wilderness untouched by industrial expansion. Further east, the Bieszczady Mountains tell a different story. Less visited and wilder, they became a refuge after war-induced population shifts. Entire villages were abandoned during post-war resettlements, leaving forests to reclaim farmland. Today, Bieszczady is synonymous with solitude and reflection. Hiking trails wind through deserted hamlets and over rolling hills, where one can feel the weight of history and the freedom of space simultaneously. Here, nature has reclaimed its sovereignty, yet human presence remains in memories, stone foundations, and cemeteries. The mountains also preserve the intersection of human survival and natural resilience. Shepherding, forestry, and small-scale farming have shaped valleys and meadows for centuries. Transhumance, the seasonal movement of livestock, continues in some regions, reflecting a connection to land that modern urban life often forgets. The Gorals' knowledge of herbs, weather patterns, and animal behavior reflects centuries of adaptation and environmental intelligence. In these mountains, survival is practical, cultural, and spiritual all at once. Religious traditions are also deeply entwined with mountain life. Small wooden chapels dot the slopes, often perched on ridges or hidden in valleys. Pilgrimages, feast days, and local rituals connect people to both the land and to generations of ancestors. These practices have persisted despite political upheaval, communist suppression of religious life, and modernization. In the mountains, faith and culture are inseparable from survival itself. Visitors to the Tatras and Bieszczady quickly understand a broader truth about Poland: survival is multifaceted. In cities like Warsaw, it meant rebuilding stone and mortar; in Krakow, preserving intact cultural layers; in the mountains, it is about sustaining way of life, language, music, and craftsmanship. The Gorals' resilience mirrors the nation's endurance, persistent, adaptive, and deeply rooted. The experience of these mountains is also visceral. When walking through dense forests or along ridges above deep valleys, there is a tangible sense of time stretching, of life measured not in schedules or technology but in rhythms of nature: sunrise, seasons, animal migrations, snowfalls, and harvests. Modern anxieties fade here, priorities shift to survival in its most elemental form, living harmoniously with the land while maintaining identity. Even in winter, when trails are buried under snow, the mountains pulse with life. Skiers glide down slopes once traveled by shepherds. Wooden lodges host travelers seeking warmth, meals, and stories. Fireplaces crackle. The smell of smoked cheese and mountain bread fills the air. The human presence is modest but enduring, just like the mountains themselves. And then there is the view. From peaks like Rizy, the highest point in Poland, one can see valleys stretching endlessly, dotted with forests and streams, villages and chapels. The panorama reminds travelers that survival is not only about overcoming destruction but about learning to coexist with one's environment, a lesson Poland has embodied for centuries. The Tatras and Bieszczady are, in essence, living museums of endurance. They hold memory, identity, and culture in every stone, tree, and melody. They remind us that survival is not only political or military, it is cultural, environmental, and spiritual. In these mountains, Poland's resilience is visible, audible, and deeply felt. When the pace of life slows here, you understand why these landscapes are integral to the Polish soul. They are refuges, teachers, and symbols of continuity. While cities like Warsaw tell the story of rebirth and Krakow the story of endurance, the mountains narrate the story of persistence, patience, and connection to land and tradition. In the mountains, Poland is quiet but unbroken. Time slows, yet identity sharpens. Survival is not flashy or monumental. It is ongoing, lived, and breathed. It is the heartbeat beneath the peaks, the whisper in the forests, the song carried across valleys. Here, as in all of Poland, history is never far away, but it is not oppressive. It informs life without suffocating it. The mountains remind all who visit that resilience is as much about inner strength and cultural continuity as it is about rebuilding cities or defending borders. In this way, the mountains of Poland teach a lesson for the entire nation: survival is multifaceted, enduring, and intimate. It is about keeping identity alive even when everything else changes. It is about living in harmony with the past, the land, and the people around you. And in these valleys and peaks, Poland's enduring spirit is as clear and vivid as the mountain air itself. Section 5, Baltic Coast and Gdansk. Poland's story of survival is not confined to its cities or mountains. The northern coastline along the Baltic Sea tells another tale, one of trade, resilience, and freedom. Here, the sea is more than a body of water. It is a witness, a lifeline, and a stage for history. At the heart of this region lies Gdansk, a city whose very streets echo with centuries of commerce, conquest, and cultural exchange. Positioned on the Gulf of Gdansk, it became a hub for the Hanseatic League, the powerful network of merchant cities that dominated northern European trade from the 13th to 17th centuries. Its wealth came from amber, timber, grain, and shipbuilding. The city's architecture reflects this legacy. Ornate townhouses, Gothic churches, and colorful facades rise along cobbled streets, revealing a past defined by ambition, prosperity, and connection to the wider world. Walking through Gdansk, one is immediately struck by the blend of beauty and history. The long market, Długi Targ, stretches before you, lined with intricately decorated houses, their gables carved in stone and wood, telling stories of merchants, artisans, and civic pride. The Neptune fountain at the center symbolizes the city's relationship with the sea, a reminder that survival in Gdansk was always tied to maritime trade. The streets are lively today, filled with cafes, shops, and the hum of modern life, yet beneath that surface lies centuries of struggle, resilience, and identity. Gdansk is not just a city of commerce, it is a city of freedom. In 1980, the Lenin shipyard became the cradle of the Solidarity movement. Workers, led by Lech Walesa, organized strikes demanding fair wages, workers' rights, and political reform. This was not merely a local dispute, it ignited a movement that helped dismantle the Iron Curtain. The shipyards, once symbols of industrial labor under communist rule, became beacons of resistance. Today, the European Solidarity Center preserves the memory of those struggles, celebrating courage, collective action, and the power of ordinary people to shape history. Beyond Gdansk, the Baltic coast is a landscape of contrasts and natural beauty. The Hel Peninsula, a narrow strip of land stretching into the sea, offers long sandy beaches and unique ecosystems. Here, fishermen villages survive alongside modern resorts. Birds migrate along these shores in vast flocks, echoing the rhythm of nature that has persisted despite human activity. The coast tells the story of a people shaped by the sea, traders, sailors, and fishermen who relied on resilience, skill, and courage to thrive. Further west, the Słowinski National Park captivates with its shifting sand dunes, often called moving dunes. These strange formations, rising like small mountains and slowly creeping inland, remind visitors that the landscape itself is alive and ever-changing. Walking through the dunes is like entering another world, wind-sculpted ridges, sparse vegetation, and vast open skies. The dunes are a metaphor for Poland itself, constantly in motion, shaped by forces beyond control, yet persisting and adapting over centuries. Life along the coast has always required adaptability. Storms, shifting sands, and the harsh northern climate demanded resilience from those who settled here. Fishing traditions, boat-building techniques, and community structures evolved to meet the challenges of the sea. The people of the coast understood that survival depended on respect for nature and cooperation among neighbors. These lessons echo the broader theme of Polish endurance: survival is both collective and individual, practical and cultural. Gdansk's history also reflects the intersection of prosperity and tragedy. The city endured occupations, from Prussian and Napoleonic control to Nazi and Soviet forces in the 20th century. During World War II, Gdansk, then called Danzig, was annexed by Germany. The population suffered forced labor, deportations, and executions. Buildings were damaged, and cultural institutions disrupted. Yet the city's spirit persisted. Post-war reconstruction restored many historic buildings, honoring the past while embracing the present. The Long Market, the main town hall, and St. Mary's Church now stand as testaments to resilience, culture, and the determination to preserve identity. The Baltic coast is not only about history and cities, it is also about people and traditions. Coastal communities maintain festivals tied to the sea, boat blessings, folk music, and culinary traditions featuring herring, smoked fish, and amber crafts. These cultural threads connect generations, reinforcing a sense of place and continuity. Survival here, as elsewhere in Poland, is deeply intertwined with heritage. Visiting Gdansk and the Baltic coast, one senses the same themes present throughout Poland: survival, memory, and adaptation. Cities rebuilt from ruins, towns preserving centuries-old traditions, and communities navigating the challenges of geography and history all illustrate the Polish spirit. Yet the coast also introduces something unique: the dynamic power of the sea, a reminder that life is always in flux and resilience must be ongoing. The Baltic Sea itself is a witness to time. Waves crash against beaches where generations have fished, traded, and traveled. Ships sail routes that were once the lifelines of medieval merchants. Storms remind locals and visitors alike that nature can be unforgiving, yet life continues, adaptable, persistent, and vibrant. In essence, the northern coastline of Poland, from Gdansk's historic streets to the dunes of Słowinski and the fishing villages of Hel, embodies survival through connection. Connection to the sea, to trade, to neighbors, and to cultural heritage. It is a reminder that Poland's endurance is not only written in cities or mountains but along its shores, where human and natural histories intertwine. The coast teaches visitors another lesson: resilience requires balance. Gdansk survived war because its people adapted while preserving culture. Fishermen endured storms by respecting nature's rhythm. Landscapes themselves shifted, yet life found a way. Survival is never passive, it is active, deliberate, and continuous. Poland's Baltic coast is a place where history, culture, and nature meet. It shows that endurance is multifaceted: political, cultural, environmental, and personal. The city of Gdansk and its surrounding region are living proof that survival is not simply about rebuilding what was lost, but about maintaining identity, fostering community, and navigating change with skill and courage. As the sun sets over the Gulf of Gdansk, casting golden reflections on the water, it becomes clear: the Polish spirit is like the sea itself, persistent, resilient, and full of depth. The coast, like the rest of the country, refuses to vanish. It adapts, remembers, and thrives, offering lessons not only in survival but in hope, identity, and the power of people to shape their own destiny. Beyond the bustling cities and majestic mountains, Poland's true soul often lies in its villages. Here, life moves at a different pace, rooted in tradition, nature, and community. These places have endured centuries of upheaval and yet retain a remarkable sense of continuity. They are living testaments to resilience, a form of survival less visible than rebuilt capitals or historic landmarks, but no less profound. One of the most famous examples is Zalapy, a village in southern Poland. Zalapy is a place where every house, every fence, and even doghouses are painted with vibrant floral patterns. This tradition began over a century ago as a way for women to cover soot marks from kitchens and stoves, turning necessity into art. Over time, it became a cultural signature, passed from generation to generation. Walking through Zalapy today, one feels as though the village itself is alive, a canvas of memory, beauty, and resilience. Here, the act of painting is not merely decorative, it is an assertion of identity and joy, a form of survival through creativity. Moving east, Podlasie offers another dimension of Poland's enduring culture. Nestled near the border with Belarus, the region is known for its wooden Orthodox churches, some centuries old, standing quietly amid forests and fields. These churches, often adorned with intricate iconography and unique architectural details, survived wars, occupations, and political pressures. They reflect a community's steadfastness, preserving faith, ritual, and artistry despite changing regimes and shifting borders. In Podlasie, survival is both spiritual and material, rooted in faith and craftsmanship. Perhaps nowhere is the connection between culture and nature more evident than in Białowieża Forest, one of Europe's last remaining primeval forests. This ancient woodland, stretching along the Polish-Belarusian border, is home to ecosystems that have persisted for millennia. It shelters species that have vanished elsewhere, including the European bison, which was brought back from near extinction in carefully managed reserves. Walking among the towering oaks and dense undergrowth, one feels the weight of time. This is a forest that has witnessed invasions, occupations, and industrial expansion, yet continues to thrive. Its survival mirrors the broader story of Poland, the persistence of life, identity, and natural heritage against all odds. The villages of Poland also reveal a different kind of resilience, social and communal. Traditional ways of life, including small-scale farming, seasonal rituals, and local festivals, continue alongside modern influences. Harvest festivals, folk music, and regional dances are not merely tourist attractions, they are integral to community cohesion, teaching younger generations the values and skills of their ancestors. Children grow up understanding the rhythms of the land, the importance of cooperation, and the need to honor history while engaging with the present. Architecture in these villages tells a story of adaptation. Wooden homes, often constructed from local timber and designed to withstand harsh winters, remain practical and beautiful. Roofs are steeped to shed snow, beams are carefully joined without nails, and decorative motifs reflect centuries of aesthetic tradition. In many cases, the villagers themselves maintain these structures, passing down techniques learned from parents and grandparents. Each house is more than a dwelling, it is a living archive of knowledge and survival. Poland's rural traditions also include food, a fundamental expression of culture and endurance. From hearty pierogi and cabbage dishes to smoked meats and cheeses, the recipes are deeply rooted in local ingredients and seasonal cycles. Meals are communal events, reinforcing social bonds and providing continuity in a rapidly changing world. Preparing and sharing food becomes a ritual of survival, linking present communities with generations past. In addition to cultural continuity, the villages reveal Poland's environmental resilience. Fields, meadows, and forests are managed sustainably, often in ways that have changed little over centuries. Local knowledge of weather, soil, and biodiversity allows communities to thrive without relying on modern industrial methods. This harmony with the land is a form of survival that cities cannot replicate, a slow, attentive, and adaptive endurance that is as much about patience as strength. Yet Polish villages have not been entirely untouched by history. Wars, occupations, and political upheavals disrupted lives, displaced families, and altered economies. Many rural areas experienced forced labor, resettlements, or population changes under communist policies. But through all these challenges, village life persisted. Traditions adapted, communities reorganized, and culture remained. The continuity may be subtle, a preserved recipe, a painted home, a seasonal festival, but it is profound. Visiting these villages, one senses a slower rhythm of life, where time is measured by the sun, the seasons, and the cycles of agriculture. Children play in open fields rather than streets, neighbors gather to repair fences, harvest crops, or prepare communal meals. Technology exists but does not dominate. The village is a space where survival is embedded in everyday practice, in habits, skills, and relationships. Poland's villages teach an important lesson about resilience. It is not always dramatic. Survival is not just about rebuilding a destroyed city or resisting an occupation. Sometimes, it is about maintaining continuity, of culture, of knowledge, of community, despite pressures to change. It is quiet, understated, and deeply human. From Zalepi's painted houses to Podlase's wooden churches, from Białowieża forest to small family farms, the villages embody the persistence of identity and tradition. They remind visitors that Poland's endurance is not solely in grand monuments or historic cities, but in everyday acts: cooking, building, singing, working the land, and preserving stories. These acts, repeated across generations, are a form of resistance as powerful as any political struggle. In this sense, the Polish countryside complements the nation's urban and mountainous narratives. Cities show reconstruction and adaptation, mountains reveal endurance and harmony with nature, and villages demonstrate continuity and cultural preservation. Together, they form a mosaic of survival, each piece essential to understanding the full picture of Poland. Walking through these villages, visitors can feel the heartbeat of the nation. It is slower than in the cities, quieter than in the mountains, but it is steady, resilient, and enduring. Every painted fence, wooden church, and primeval forest is a testament to the capacity of people to survive, not just physically, but culturally and spiritually. Here, Poland has not changed because it has refused to forget, refused to abandon tradition, and refused to surrender its identity. In the villages of Poland, history is alive, but it is lived, not simply observed. Survival is ordinary, practiced in daily life, yet extraordinary in its persistence across centuries. It is a reminder that endurance is as much about sustaining culture and community as it is about weathering wars or rebuilding cities. And in these quiet spaces, one can truly feel the depth, continuity, and resilience that define the Polish spirit. Poland's castles are more than stone and mortar. They are monuments to endurance, memory, and power, enduring symbols of a nation that has survived invasions, partitions, and political upheavals. Each castle tells a story, not just of kings and nobility, but of resilience in the face of time and turmoil. One of the most famous is Malbork Castle, the largest brick castle in the world. Built by the Teutonic Knights in the 13th century, Malbork was a fortress, a monastery, and the administrative heart of one of medieval Europe's most powerful military orders. Its walls rise imposingly along the Nogat River, forming a complex of defensive and residential buildings. Beyond its grandeur, Malbork exemplifies Poland's capacity to inherit, preserve, and adapt monumental architecture. Over centuries, the castle has endured wars, fires, and political transitions, yet it remains remarkably intact, a testament to craftsmanship and strategic design. Visiting its halls, one feels the weight of history and the persistence of human ingenuity, a fortress not only of stone, but of memory. Wawel Castle in Krakow offers a different perspective. Perched on a hill overlooking the Vistula River, Wawel served as the residence and coronation site of Polish kings. Its walls have witnessed centuries of political change, royal ceremonies, foreign invasions, and periods of neglect. The castle is a microcosm of Polish history. Renaissance art, Gothic structures, and Baroque additions reflect successive eras and rulers, each leaving a mark without erasing what came before. Wawel embodies continuity, demonstrating how architecture can preserve cultural identity even as the world changes around it. Walking through its courtyards and halls, visitors sense not only the elegance of the past but the determination of a nation to honor its heritage. Castles also reveal hidden, darker chapters of history. Ksaja's Castle, in Lower Silesia, is renowned for its scale and beauty, but it also bears scars from World War II. During the Nazi occupation, the castle became part of Project Reese, a mysterious construction effort involving secret tunnels and underground facilities. Forced laborers, prisoners, and engineers transformed parts of the castle and surrounding hills into a complex network of hidden chambers. Though much remains shrouded in mystery, the tunnels serve as a stark reminder of occupation and the human cost of political ambitions. Yet even here, the castle survives, a witness to human endurance and the persistence of memory. Poland's castles are not static monuments. They are living spaces that have been adapted to changing needs over centuries. Defensive walls became museums. Royal chambers became exhibition halls. Courtyards host concerts and festivals. The architecture itself is flexible, designed for survival, and has been repurposed in ways that keep history accessible and relevant. They are not relics frozen in time, they are bridges between past and present. Beyond their physical structure, castles reflect the resilience of the communities around them. Towns grew near these fortresses, providing labor, trade, and cultural support. Even when political regimes shifted, local populations maintained and preserved these structures, ensuring that the stories of their ancestors were not lost. In this way, castles are not just royal monuments but collective achievements, built and sustained by generations who understood the value of continuity. Castles also illustrate Poland's complex relationship with power. They were defensive bastions, political centers, and symbols of authority, yet they were also points of vulnerability during wars and invasions. The repeated cycle of destruction and restoration mirrors the broader national experience. Empires rose and fell, armies invaded, and borders shifted, but the underlying structures endured. They teach that survival is not always about avoiding conflict, sometimes it is about withstanding it, adapting, and reclaiming purpose. Visiting these castles today, one notices the attention to detail and the blend of styles across centuries. Gothic arches meet Renaissance frescoes, Baroque staircases complement medieval towers, and defensive moats surround elegant gardens. Each layer tells a story of survival, of a building that withstood fire, artillery, neglect, and political change, yet continues to convey beauty, power, and history. In this way, Polish castles are living textbooks of architecture, strategy, and cultural identity. Malbork, Wawel, Książ, and countless other castles also serve as cultural anchors. They host exhibitions, historical reenactments, and educational programs, connecting contemporary audiences with centuries of heritage. By keeping the castles alive as active cultural spaces, Poland ensures that history is not confined to textbooks but experienced and understood directly. Visitors walk through halls once tread by knights and kings, imagine the daily life of courtiers and soldiers, and appreciate the enduring nature of human effort. The symbolism of survival is further reinforced by the castle's locations. Perched on rivers, hills, and strategic crossroads, they were designed to endure sieges and control territories. Their very placement reflects an understanding of geography, strategy, and long-term planning, lessons not lost even as military technology evolved. In essence, the castles are metaphors for Poland itself, positioned at the intersection of Europe, constantly defending identity, adapting to change, and enduring through generations. In conclusion, Polish castles are more than tourist attractions. They are chronicles of endurance. They demonstrate how architecture can embody resilience, how communities can sustain cultural heritage, and how identity can survive even amid conquest and political upheaval. Every brick, every tower, every hall tells a story of a nation that refuses to vanish, that preserves memory, and that continues to adapt while honoring its past. Poland's castles remind us that survival is both monumental and intimate. They are monumental in scale, echoing the grandeur of kings, armies, and empires. Yet they are intimate in their connection to communities, craftsmen, and everyday people who maintained them across centuries. Survival is not only about standing through conflict, it is about creating, preserving, and passing down legacy. As you walk through a Polish castle, from the massive walls of Malbork to the intricate courtyards of Wawel, from the secret tunnels of Książ to lesser-known fortresses scattered across the countryside, you witness a powerful truth: architecture can be a vessel of memory, a symbol of resilience, and a reflection of national identity. In Poland, survival is not just a story of people or cities, it is etched into stone, brick, and timber, enduring for centuries to come. To understand Poland, one must look beyond cities, mountains, and castles. One must see the people, their traditions, their language, and the ways they navigate the modern world while carrying the weight of history. Here lies the soul of the nation, a mix of resilience, culture, and innovation, deeply rooted yet forward-looking. Polish hospitality is legendary. There is a saying, "Guest in the house, God in the house." This simple phrase encapsulates the warmth and generosity embedded in everyday life. Visitors are welcomed with food, conversation, and care. Meals are a central part of social interaction, from simple pierogi and bigos, hunter's stew, to elaborate holiday feasts. Recipes are passed down through generations, each dish carrying stories of survival, adaptation, and love. Food in Poland is not just sustenance, it is memory, culture, and identity, a living connection to ancestors. Language is another pillar of the nation's soul. Polish, with its complex grammar, rich vocabulary, and subtle nuances, is challenging to outsiders but intimate to its speakers. It is a tool for expressing identity, humor, and emotion, a bridge between generations. Folk sayings, proverbs, and songs carry wisdom accumulated over centuries, ensuring that culture survives not just through monuments or books but in everyday speech. For Poles, language is both a shield and a thread, connecting people through time. Music in Poland has long been an expression of resilience. Chopin's piano compositions are globally celebrated, but in Poland, they are more than art, they are symbols of national identity and emotional endurance. During communist times, jazz became a form of quiet rebellion, a way for young people to claim freedom and self-expression when political liberty was limited. Today, modern Polish hip-hop continues this tradition, blending global influences with local stories, social critique, and cultural pride. Music, in all its forms, shows that survival is not only about preserving life but also about preserving voice. Polish culture balances tradition and modernity in remarkable ways. Festivals, such as All Saints' Day, where families honor the dead by lighting candles in cemeteries, coexist with contemporary events like film festivals, technology expos, and international conferences. The country demonstrates a capacity to maintain its rituals while embracing global change. The past informs the present without imprisoning it, culture evolves, yet identity remains intact. This balance is especially visible in Poland's post-1989 transformation. After decades under communist rule, Poland underwent rapid political, economic, and social change. Cities modernized, infrastructure expanded, and industries grew. Yet in the process, tradition was not abandoned. Folk crafts, religious observances, and regional customs continue to flourish alongside technology startups, contemporary art, and urban nightlife. The ability to integrate history with progress is a hallmark of Polish resilience. The nation adapts without losing itself. Poland's modernity is also reflected in its youth. Young people embrace innovation, travel, and global culture, yet they remain deeply connected to heritage. Schools teach history alongside modern sciences, universities foster research while honoring classical arts, cities host contemporary music festivals alongside traditional folk events. The coexistence of old and new, local and global, past and future, reveals a society confident in its identity while open to change. Art, too, demonstrates Poland's soul. Galleries, murals, and street art reflect contemporary social themes while often drawing inspiration from historical narratives. Public spaces carry layers of meaning, statues commemorate historical figures, memorials honor victims of war and oppression, and art installations engage communities in dialogue about the present and future. Polish creativity thrives as both reflection and rebellion, a testament to the nation's enduring spirit. Religion remains an influential aspect of modern life, though it coexists with secular trends. Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, and other faiths shape social values, holidays, and community life. Religious traditions offer continuity and comfort, connecting individuals to shared history. At the same time, Poland is increasingly diverse, embracing new ideas and cultural forms, demonstrating that modernity does not require abandoning roots. Technology and innovation now play a central role in shaping Poland's future. From IT hubs in Warsaw and Krakow to renewable energy projects and advanced medical research, the nation invests in forward-looking industries. Yet this modern infrastructure is layered atop centuries-old history, showing that survival is not only about enduring hardship but also about preparing for the future. Poland builds, innovates, and creates while remaining conscious of the legacy it carries. Education is another reflection of resilience. Schools teach not only reading, math, and science but also history, culture, and civic responsibility. Knowledge becomes a tool for survival, personal, cultural, and societal. The ability to understand one's past, engage critically with the present, and anticipate the future is central to the Polish identity. Urban spaces, too, mirror this blend of soul and modernity. Warsaw and Krakow showcase sleek glass towers alongside historic facades. Streets hum with life, cafes, tech startups, cultural centers, and performance spaces coexist, illustrating that survival is dynamic. The cities are living proof that resilience is both physical and cultural. Rebuilding is not enough, thriving requires creativity, community, and adaptation. Even in entertainment, Polish culture balances old and new. Folk tales inspire films, classical compositions are reimagined with modern instruments, traditions of theater, literature, and cinema coexist with digital media, gaming, and international collaborations. This dialogue between past and present ensures that culture is not stagnant but alive, evolving, and meaningful. Poland's soul is ultimately defined by its people. Ordinary citizens, farmers, students, artisans, entrepreneurs, and families, embody resilience through everyday acts. They preserve traditions, innovate, educate, and care for one another. They adapt to change while honoring memory, proving that national survival is not just about borders or battles, but about sustaining life, culture, and identity in daily existence. In conclusion, Poland's modernity does not erase its history, it is built upon it. From food and language to music, festivals, technology, and education, the nation demonstrates a capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. The soul of Poland is not only in its monuments or landscapes but in the living culture, in the people who carry tradition forward, in communities that foster belonging, and in the creativity and resilience that permeate daily life. Poland teaches that survival is complex. It is physical, cultural, spiritual, and social. It is about rebuilding after destruction, preserving identity amid occupation, and embracing the future while honoring the past. The nation's soul is both rooted and forward-looking, quiet and vibrant, traditional and innovative. It is the heartbeat of a country that has survived, and continues to thrive. Against all odds, Poland today is a country no longer merely reacting to history, but actively shaping its own destiny. From its rebuilt cities to its preserved mountains, villages, and castles, the nation has transformed survival into creation. The story of modern Poland is not only about enduring hardships, it is about imagining, building, and innovating for the future. One of the clearest symbols of Poland's transformation is its urban development. Warsaw, once a city reduced to rubble, has become a thriving European capital. Its skyline blends restored historical facades with cutting-edge architecture, representing both continuity and progress. Infrastructure projects, new cultural centers, and public spaces demonstrate that Poland is not content with simply preserving the past, it is creating new foundations for generations to come. Urban planning emphasizes both efficiency and quality of life, showing that survival can evolve into sustainable growth. Krakow, with its preserved historic core, demonstrates a different approach, blending cultural heritage with modern functionality. Universities, technology parks, and creative hubs coexist alongside Renaissance streets and Gothic cathedrals. The city nurtures education, innovation, and tourism without compromising its identity. It is a living model of Poland's strategy for the 21st century, progress rooted in history, where modern achievements honor and extend cultural memory. Poland's commitment to innovation is evident across industries. Technology, renewable energy, and research are rapidly expanding. The country invests in AI, biotechnology, and green infrastructure, balancing modernization with environmental stewardship. These efforts reflect lessons learned from history. Adaptability is essential for survival, and long-term planning ensures that growth is sustainable, not fleeting. Poland is building not just economically, but socially and technologically, preparing for challenges that extend beyond its borders. Education and culture remain central to this vision. Poland's universities foster global talent while promoting national identity. Cultural initiatives, film festivals, and art exhibitions connect the nation to the world, fostering dialogue and creativity. At the same time, traditions are carefully preserved, folk music, crafts, and festivals continue to thrive, reinforcing a sense of continuity even amid rapid change. Survival here is both material and cultural, proving that identity and progress are intertwined. Poland is also investing in its natural environment. National parks, forests, and coastal areas are protected and enhanced, reflecting a commitment to preserving biodiversity and ecological balance. Infrastructure projects often integrate environmental considerations, showing that modernity need not come at the cost of nature. In this sense, Poland's survival strategy has become proactive. It protects, innovates, and plans for the long-term well-being of both people and land. Social resilience is another key aspect. Civil society, local governance, and community organizations play active roles in shaping policy and supporting development. Grassroots initiatives, volunteer movements, and cultural organizations contribute to social cohesion and civic responsibility. In every city, town, and village, individuals participate in building a shared future, demonstrating that survival is collective as much as it is personal. The nation's history informs its vision. Poland does not erase its past, it integrates it into planning, identity, and culture. Monuments, museums, and heritage sites coexist with modern architecture and innovation hubs. The lessons of past occupations, wars, and political pressures guide policy, urban design, and education. The country is aware that survival is not simply enduring, it is learning, adapting, and using knowledge to shape a sustainable future. Infrastructure projects illustrate this forward-thinking approach. Roads, railways, and airports connect cities and regions efficiently, enhancing commerce and travel. Technology networks link people and industries, supporting economic growth and innovation. Yet these projects are designed with sensitivity to history and nature, showing a holistic approach to progress that balances tradition, culture, and modern demands. Poland's international presence reflects its evolving role in the world. Active in the European Union, global trade, and cultural exchange, the country asserts its sovereignty while collaborating on shared goals. Diplomacy, innovation, and cultural influence demonstrate that survival has become strategic growth. Poland is no longer only defending identity, it is shaping global perceptions and contributing actively to international dialogue. Even in everyday life, signs of this evolution are clear. Cities teem with creative energy, startups, technology centers, and artistic spaces flourish. Rural areas innovate in sustainable farming, ecotourism, and cultural preservation. Communities embrace modern conveniences while honoring traditions, ensuring that survival is dynamic, adaptive, and meaningful. The Polish people themselves are central to this narrative. Resilience is no longer just a response to destruction, it is a mindset, a cultural value, and a daily practice. Citizens build businesses, educate children, preserve culture, protect nature, and participate in civic life. Each contribution, whether small or large, reflects a commitment to shaping Poland's future. Survival is now synonymous with creativity, responsibility, and foresight. Poland's story is also forward-looking in technology and culture. Renewable energy initiatives reduce reliance on fossil fuels, universities drive research in AI and medicine, and cultural institutions promote both innovation and tradition. The nation recognizes that true survival involves sustainability, economically, socially, and environmentally. By integrating modernity with heritage, Poland creates a model for nations seeking to thrive in a rapidly changing world. In conclusion, modern Poland exemplifies a transformation from survival to creation. It has moved beyond reacting to history, rebuilding after destruction, or preserving identity under threat. Today, Poland actively shapes its destiny, socially, technologically, culturally, and environmentally. Cities, villages, mountains, and coasts are all part of a larger strategy of endurance that is proactive, imaginative, and resilient. Poland's story reminds us that survival is not a static state, it is a continuous process of adaptation, learning, and creation. The nation teaches that enduring history is only the first step, the next is to build, innovate, and shape the future. From its rebuilt cities to its thriving cultural life, from sustainable development to technological advancement, Poland proves that identity and progress can coexist, and that resilience is both a heritage and a practice. Finally, Poland asks its people and visitors to reflect, which part of its history resonates most with you? Is it the rebuilt streets of Warsaw, the enduring mountains, the painted villages, or the castles that witnessed centuries of struggle? Each story is a lesson in survival, a testimony of identity, and a reminder that the Polish spirit, resilient, creative, and determined, continues to thrive. Poland is no longer just a country that survived. It is a country that builds, dreams, and shapes its own history, a living proof that endurance leads not only to survival but to transformation.